let's start recording. So, okay, non-repeatable read. Okay, so now we know what is a non-repeatable read, right? Non-repeatable read means that inside a transaction, if we execute two queries, and that query should be a get query, right? So if we try to execute DQL inside a transaction, and at both times we get different result, then it's non-repeatable read. Like the name says, right? It's non-repeatable. I'm trying to read the same thing again, but it's non-repeatable. I mean, the output is non-repeatable to be produced, right? So there is an issue in certain cases where we want to operate, right? Like we have given example where due to a certain bug, users were able to create profile who were under the age of 18. Now this is an anomaly, right? So we just want to write a script so that we will be able to revert that thing, right? Remove the matches and then deactivate the profile. Those things we need to do. So at those particular uh, for tackling those particular scenarios only, we don't require this non-repeatable read, right? Otherwise it's completely cool if it's happened. And we have also seen that we cannot set at the database level non-repeatable read or serializable, right, as a transaction isolation level, right? And we have also seen that read uncommitted is not allowed, even if the name says, then also it is not supported by database management systems. But you cannot even set this as well, right? So now, but we were at this thing that whether read committed, we know that inside the read commit there were three issues, right, that we faced with the read uncommitted: dirty read, non-repeatable read, and phantom read, right? So with the read committed, we now know that the dirty read will not happen, right? Because we are reading data from the persistent storage, right? We are only read the data that is committed, right? That's why before using the commit, I was not able to see the 999, right? Because we are reading the another transaction. The transactions or the normal query as well without a transaction will read the data only and only from the permanent storage. So that's the isolation level. Cool. Read committed isolation level. So we know that dirty read will not happen, right? Because dirty read was happening because we are reading the uncommitted data, which will never going to be saved in the permanent storage. So that's why we came with the read committed. So we know that dirty read will not happen with the read committed, right? And this is the default isolation level as well. Now the second thing is non-repeatable read. So the non-repeatable read, will it happen with the read committed or not? So now the thing is, I will let you know the example. But what's the non-repeatable read, we know, right? If we try to search multiple times the same query inside a transaction, the output if different, then it's a non-repeatable read, right? And what does it mean? And now we will see how can we try to mimic it. If I try select asterisk from public orders where the price is greater than 100, right? And let's suppose if the transaction T1, this is the transaction T2, right? Let's say the transaction T1 comes when this first selection has been done, and the transaction T1, what it does, it set price equals to greater than 100, right? 90 it set a price, right, where price is greater than 100, limit 1, right? So this query will update only one product, right? Only one product prices. I've used the limit 1, right? But the thing you need to know, again, the limit don't work with the update, right? Okay, cool. I just write it just to make sure that, I'm adding that only one row should be added, right? Cool, but no issues. So I want to set the price of price 90, where price is greater than 100, and ID is greater than, equals to, let's say, 9, right? So now we know that this query will impact only one row because ID is a primary key which cannot be duplicated, right? So what will happen if I commit it as well? And this line I will execute after this first line. And let's even change it, and let's even make the same example. Let's use in where ID in 9 and 10. Okay. So what will happen? So till here what will happen? I will get 10 products, right? But this T1 comes and it will commit the data, right? And I am at the read isolation level, read committed, right? And it has committed the data. So at this point I will read 8 products, right?
Yeah.
So
Okay.
that means read committed will still have non-repetitive read issue, right?
Yeah.
And what is it? The phantom read, right? So let's take the example of the phantom read as well. What's the phantom read? If we read something that does not exist, or if we not read something that exists, right? Phantom read, right? And now phantom read, what's the issue with the phantom read? It will, like for example, T1 transaction, and let's start a T2 transaction. Let's start a T2 transaction. So we have two transactions. Okay. So what's happening over here? What I'll do, we are at read committed, right? Now one thing we need to know that we are at read committed.
Yeah.
Read committed isolation level, right? We are at read committed isolation level. So what will happen if I try to update a user, insert a product, right? Let's say I insert a product. Okay, product inserted. And okay, why I'm taking this example? I can even take the same example of this thing as well, where I'm updating the product, right? So what I will do, I will delete the user. And I'm setting the price right now, right? I'm setting the
Yeah.
price, right?
Insert you put there.
Yes. So what I can do, I can insert the row, or I can even delete the row. Over here, I'm doing the DDL command, right? I can delete the user directly. Okay, let's take another example, otherwise there might be a chance you get confused. So the thing is, let's take a completely another example, that would be better. So let's say that over here, I'm not doing anything, but here I will read something. Read user, right? Read user, and how many user? 10 user I get, right, from the database. Cool. And
Okay.
over here, what I will do, I will delete user id 10, user id 10, right? Then I try to update users. And now these 10 users will include user id 10 as well, right? This will have user id 10 as well, right? Because I have read it before already.
Okay.
So but and okay, wait a minute, I have to commit it as well, right? Commit it as well. Commit, because it is read commit, right? We are at read committed. So now what will happen? The user is already deleted, right? User is already deleted, but I'm still updating the user. Now you can take another example that there were 10 products that I got, that I need to order, right? And let's take the practical example. In Amazon and in some different websites, we have what we call it, I mean, subscription model, right? In Amazon we have a subscription model. In Country Delight we have a subscription model. And in OTP also we have a subscription model where they give the milk, coconut, and fruits every day, right? In subscription model. Let's suppose someone ordered on the subscription model product ID 1, 2, and 3, right? Or let's say 8, 9, 10. Let's say the 8 is coconut, 9 is uh, 9 is coconut, and then milk, and the 10 is bread, right? These three things are coconut, bread, and milk. Coconut, milk, and 10 is bread. Let's suppose they remove the product bread, right? Let's take it's a product. Okay, purchase, or let's say something else, right? Cool. So, and remove this thing, and read only three products, right? So what will happen? It will read the subscription, right? And it will read from the data that which products they have subscribed to, and it will get these three products, right? Milk, bread, and coconut water.
Okay.
The this transaction T2 has read, okay, these three IDs I have. Right? Then what will the transaction T1 doing? It is deleting the product ID 10, right? And then it is committing also, right? See, now the
Okay.
data is committed data, right? But the thing is, we are
Yeah.
not reading anymore. We are operating on the data that has already been deleted. So this should not be a case, right?
Acha. Acha.
One thing that we can do is we can use the constraint. But the issue with the constraint is it takes an additional time, right? Because to perform any operation, we need to check also. We need to, if I have a foreign key constraint, then before
Hmm.
inserting anything, I need to go to that particular table. Like if I enter in the user ID and user ID is a foreign key, then I need to go to the user table and make sure that okay, this foreign key exists or not, right? So it's going to take an additional time, right? Because I need to go to another table, then query, even though there is index, then too it's going to take some time. So that's the thing, it increase the duration. And if the duration is increased, then on the primary or important databases like the products users, in these databases we can write the constraint, right? Because they are important. But in other tables where the constraint does not make too much sense, or we are not doing a lot of operations, then over
Okay.
there it does not, I mean, there's a trade-off, right? If we can add n number of constraint, right? But we will not find every column in the database with a constraint, right? The reason is simple, because if we try to add constraint at every column, the insertion will becomes way too slow, right? Insertion and everything
Yeah.
becomes way too slow. So that's why we don't add it, right? So there might be a chance there will be some table that will try to send the product, right? And what will happen then? uh, the OTP warehouse will say that okay, we don't have breads, and we have that in an order, right? And they have to contact the customer care. Then the company has to build a customer care, right? And company will
Okay.
build a customer care, but they will not scale it, right? Because if you are selling something to 20 lakhs or 20, 30 lakhs people on daily basis, then you won't be able to hire 50,000 or 1 lakh customer care people if this thing will happen on a daily basis. So customer care people will be 300 to 500 max 1,000, not more than that. So that's the issue. That's why we need to take care of it. So this will happen, right? In the case of rate committed as well, right? Because it
Okay.
does not even care about the rate committed. I mean, it's not related to whether the data is committed. I mean, we need okay. If the data is not committed, okay, no. It will still happen with the uncommitted data, right? With uncommitted data, everything will happen. With rate
Yeah.
committed also, but these two will happen, right? So
Okay.
now, as the name suggests, this repeatable read, right? We have already seen the examples, right? Practical examples of read committed. Now the repeatable read, as the name suggests, the queries will be we will get the same data from the repeated queries, right?
Yeah. Yeah. So
So
both will not be there.
yes, the non-repeatable read will not be there. So let me tell you how it will happen. Why it will happen. One thing that will happen if in the case of repeatable read, right? Now we are talking about repeatable read. Repeatable read. So what happens when I search this product term, right? I get 10 products, right? So this is a get request, right? I mean select request. We want data from the database, right? So what happens in the read repeatable? I mean there are multiple ways in which it can be handled, right? We don't want what's the okay. Let's start from the very very basic. What's the I mean you tell me first that how, if you are a developer who need to make sure that if someone sets the repeatable read isolation level, then every time I select a query from the inside a transaction, then data should be, the output should be same. It should be not 8, it should be 10 again. So how will you try to solve it?
Now you are saying we have to ensure these two queries will give same output both
Yes.
the time.
Inside a transaction, not both the times. If I try to execute it 100 times in this transaction, then each time it should give the same result, right?
Okay.
And one thing to make sure that I'm not going to make any update or set, I'm not inserting, updating, I'm not manipulating this table, right? Also one thing, I'm just selecting the data, I'm just trying to get the data. DQL query, I'm just trying to get. See now one thing.
On the
Okay.
T1 you put right lock. I mean where like we should not allow any write to happen on the on this row.
So
Any
you are
other
saying that
transaction should not do.
row level lock should be there, right?
Yeah, that level
If
lock
I'm using, if I'm updating, if I'm just if I'm doing the price level thing, so entire table should I take, or entire just the rows that has been written to this query will will be locked? What should happen? Should I take the entire table level lock? Should I take the row level lock? Should I take the column level lock? Or do I even have to take a lock? Because if you take the lock, then the update queries will become
you have to take all the row level lock.
okay. So you are saying that row level lock is required, right?
Yeah.
So that means in the orders table, in the orders table, in the orders table, you are saying I mean in low level lock you are saying the table that has been returned by this query should be locked, right? The rows that has been written by this query should
Yeah,
be locked.
only that part of the rows.
Okay, cool, cool,
Some
cool, cool.
sub
Okay,
table.
okay, okay, okay. No worries. Great. Okay, so let's try to run the same thing, right? Where ID is greater than 100. Oh my god, where amount is greater than 100. See, I mean, you are not DB expert, right? And I mean, you're not expert, then it's completely cool. But the thing is, if you try to see now, if you try to think with less stress and cool mind, then you will see that okay, the only the amount what's I'm trying to search is with the amount only, right? With the amount
Okay.
only, I need to make sure that I will get the data every time I execute this query, right? So let's say if I try to update the user ID or the product ID or the created date or the modified date, will the query results will change or the number of rows will change? Like say update or update public orders set create date.
Acha, column level lock you are saying, yeah. Okay.
Okay, create date equals to now error column of relation orders does not exist. A create it's a created date, my bad. Created date. Oh shit, where ID I haven't used it. Okay, cool. I have updated entire entire rows, right? 7 to 7 rows I have updated, right? Still, if I try to run the query, I will get the same number of rows, right? So the column level lock makes more sense, right?
Yeah, yeah, okay.
And that too for just those rows that has been written, right? And now, I mean, I'm not going to dive deep into the logs because I mean we usually discuss logs in the Java codes, or I mean there. I mean it's logs are not even of the Java codes, right? It's just a concurrency part. Whenever
Yeah.
we read about the threads, then we read about the
Okay.
concurrency, right? So dual phase locking are there, and mutex semaphores. There are a lot of things that includes the locking mechanism. There is entire, I mean, we can have discussion for entire month depending on logs and multi-study, but we are not going to dive deep into that in this course. So the thing is, I mean, but I will just try to touch the surface. Now, when we have agreed that we have to take only column level logs, right, and that too on the rows that has been written, right?
Yeah.
But now the thing is, which log should I take? Should I allow the reading of these values or should I not allow the reading of these values as well? I mean, first of all, let's say that whether if someone else come and try to search in this thing, let's select asterisk from public orders where ID equals to 5. Should I allow it to read or should I not allow it to read as well? First tell me with the row wise and then tell me with the column level wise. Do you get what I'm trying to tell? Because if you are taking the
No.
lock, then you have the complete authority, right? Whether you want to stop the read, whether you want to stop the update, whether you want to stop the delete, right? Which thing you want to stop, which authority you are taking right now, or and after you have taken the authority, which things you want to restrict, right? So now when you are saying that okay, the amount we should take the lock on the level on the column level amount on the particular rows that has been written. But what do we mean by lock over here? What do we want to achieve by taking the lock? Do we want to stop all the read operation? Do we want to stop all the update operation? Do we want to, and I mean those things only we can do, right? But in those things, do we want to stop the reading and writing on the row level or the column level? I mean, is my question making sense
Yeah,
to you?
yeah. We have to stop all the updates.
And you will allow the reads.
Update. Yeah, allow the reads because we have attained column level lock.
Okay,
So
so column level
this,
lock. So you will allow, if you have taken the column level lock, you will allow the read of columns as well, the values of columns.
yeah, we can allow the reads because we once we attain the lock, we will not be allowing to change it. So these reads will result in consistent results. So we can
Yes,
allow the read.
yes. So now I'm not diving deep because you will get confused. Right now you are in a good state, so I'm not going to ask the, I mean, edge cases, right? So it's completely clear right now to you. So let's leave it in this way only. Your answer was correct, right? We should allow the reads, right? Because what do we want? What do we want to achieve? We just want to achieve that the data should be same, right?
Same.
It should be 10 every time, not 8, right?
Yeah.
But the thing is, it does not happen the way that you are trying to tell. But because what will happen? I mean, your answer is good, modest also. I mean, but the thing, what will happen if you try to do this? Our system will become way too slow, right?
Okay.
So I mean, if you are working with non-repeatable read and someone selected select asterisk, right,
Mhm.
and not even use this thing, right, then you will
Hmm.
take the table level lock, right,
Yeah.
and you will not even allow any column to be updated, right? So
Yeah.
it will not make sense, right? The database people, they won't think that the users are, I mean, the users know things, right? Because
Acha.
before this also you are unaware of these things, right? So,
Yeah.
and we don't expect a lot of people to know this, right? Because I mean, we don't use it in the daily life, right? Even though we have gone through in the courses when we completed our BTech or BSc, whatever course we have completed. But the thing over here, it does not work in this way. What database do? It takes the snapshot. It will take the output of this query and store it in the buffer,
Okay.
and will keep on reading from the buffer only. Cool.
Acha.
That's what
Okay.
Hibernate first level session do. True. I mean, right now you don't need to. I mean, just forget what I've said. we can cover it in the later sessions. But I mean, right now just focus on the database part, right? So what is doing? It will just taking the cache, or taking the snapshot is the term that we use for this. We are
Okay.
taking the snapshot, keeping it in the buffer, and reading the same query again from the buffer. This process,
Okay.
if you try to learn about the Hibernate, this thing Hibernate also do, right? If you try to search something, and if you try again search within the same session, over there it's not the transaction, right? Over there they work with the sessions. If you try to again search within the same session, you will get the same result. Same thing
Okay.
happens with the database. Database as well. I mean Hibernate, not database, Hibernate as well. So this is the first level session in Hibernate. One interview question is what's the difference between first level and second level, right? So
Okay.
cool, understandable right now, till now.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
And see this serializable, what it do now we know that okay, the read repeatable will not be, non-repeatable read will not happen with the repeatable read, right? But what about the phantom read, right? Phantom read will still persist, because the phantom read, I mean, we are just, what we are doing right now, we are just blocking the updates, right?
Yeah.
I mean, if we go with your solution, that okay, let's block the update, right? So
Yeah.
the block level thing and the update level thing, delete level thing, it's different, right? And over here, if we'll say du, over here you can see the roles and attribute that it has, right? So
Okay.
if we are going to dive deep into that we have to, I mean, we are not going to cover that thing, but if we are going to dive deep into that, then there are different things that user can do. We can allow a single user to just do the update, do the read. In live database you will see one user will only have access to read, and one user will only have the access till update, not delete or truncate, right? DDL level access we can provide, right? So
Acha.
this thing happens why we want, because we never want our data to get deleted, right? So whatever we are running on the production, the whatever user we are creating on the production, right? Because in the production also we need to create a user, right? So
Okay.
whatever credentials we are using for in the production level, we don't provide them the DDL rights. We don't want anyone,
Okay.
if our system gets hacked or our credentials has been hacked, someone can come and truncate the table, right? Drop the table, right?
Yeah.
So that thing does not happen. This thing again happens with me, because I have wrote some query in the native SQL, and then I got to know that okay, SQL injection can be executed by this thing, and then I was scared, and the QA people did not even test it for SQL injections. Then I went to my manager and asked, okay, this thing has happened. I mean, whatever went live, this thing can happen. So what will I do? So then he told me, he said, okay, it's cool if you know about these things, but the thing is, our user don't have the access to drop, truncate, and do these things. Right? It can only
Okay.
update the items, not delete, or not even truncate. So I said that okay, if someone tries to truncate the table, if they have access, then what will happen? Then I will be fired, right? This thing will happen, and I'm going to listen a lot of abuses as well. So that's the
Okay.
thing. So we provide certain roles to a certain user, so it will not be allowed. So where were we? Okay. We were at the phantom read, right? So what will happen if we are just blocking one, if we are blocking the updates, right? That you cannot update a particular column,
Hmm.
right? And that too from the selected rows only you want update, right? But let's say right now, but the situation is different. This is not the case, right? Because over here, what will I do? Whatever I have selected, I will read from the snapshot
Yes.
that is in the buffer, right?
Snapshot. Yeah.
But in the phantom read, what will happen? Someone has deleted, right? And I have already read,
Yeah.
right? So what do I need? I need to make sure what I have read cannot be deleted, right?
Yeah.
So what can I do? I will take the lock, right?
Lock. You will get right locks.
Now I will take proper locks. That's why serializable is bad. I mean, we will understand that with serializable, no issues will be there, right? So the
Okay.
phantom read will be there, but with serializable, no issue will be there, right?
Yeah.
But one issue is there that with serializable, your system will become
Good.
way too slow. So that's
Acha.
the issue. But these three things will not happen, right? It's way too easy to understand. Only four isolation level, right? Read, commit, uncommitted, committed, repeatable read, and serializable. Cool. What
Hmm.
are the issues? Dirty read, non-repeatable read, and phantom read, right? You just
Hmm.
need to remove one thing. Dirty read first you remove, then two issues will still exist in the read committed, right? Then you remove non-repeatable read, because it will not make sense, right? Because repeatable read is
Hmm.
saying that the isolation level is repeatable read. So in English language only we can get it, right? That non-repeatable read issue will not be present in the repeatable read, right? So the only we are left
Hmm.
with the phantom read, right? And with the phantom read, but what's the one thing that will make sure that it does not happen? That we have to take the logs, right? And the logs that we have to take right now, right? And the serializable also depends. It will, and now the database when it's compiled, it will decide. See, whenever we execute a query, right? Explain and lays and select aspect from public orders, right? So over here is planning something, right? So
Okay.
during the planning, it will make sure it database also again, it will think about it. It will think the proper way to get the data in the fastest manner, right? So it, whenever you write a query, it does not think that whatever you have written is the best course to take, correct? That's why when we sometimes try to write the queries, it converts into the joins. So database takes its own course, and it changes the way you write the query, and it changes the way you have written the query. One example of that would be, if I try to do select asterisk from public
Okay.
orders where id should be, oh my bad, okay, where id should be greater than 10, and okay, let's say 2 or 3, or let's say 4, and price should be greater than 100, right? Then if you think that what database is going to do, it is going to search from the, okay, let me make it reverse. Okay, reversing, let's say, let's select asterisk from public orders and where price is greater than 100 and id is greater than 10 or 3 or 4, then if you think, okay, it is amount, right? But let's ignore this and let's say assume that it's amount or the price right now. So it will not going to search with the price first, right? I mean, right now you don't know why it's not going to take it, because we have not completed the index, because there is a primary key, right? ID is the primary key, and primary key by default gets a b-tree index, right? Because b-tree index is the default index. So whenever there are multiple filters present, right, we are going to use the filter that has the index, because it would be the faster way, right? So the database is not going in your way, right? Okay, like let's first do this and first do that, right? It will think on its own terms that which will be the best course to get the data in the fastest way possible. So it's going to choose the ID first. So that's what happens. So in serializable also, it will decide on its own that whether to take or read the data from the snapshot and from the buffer. If that thing can be justified with the query that we want to execute, then it's going to mimic the read repeatable only, right? But if it is not possible, then it will take the it can take from the row level log to the table level log and even to the database level. It is capable to that. So that's why we should never use this, and we can use anything, right? Let's see one test case of this only, and then end the session. We're going to see the case of the read repeatable. So select asterisk from where are we? We are in the, what is the transaction level right now?
Repeatable, serializable.
What is the transaction level? If I say show
Here, read committed. Default.
yes. Okay, we don't have to even think about it, right? Read committed. Cool. So the transaction has begun, and let's suppose if I have selected select asterisk from public orders, right? Orders, and let's say count. Cool. Oh, okay. Public is permission, right? Cool. Again begin. Select count asterisk from public orders, right? 7 is there, right? This is inside the transaction, right? So let me okay, let's see how the, okay, let's select the data asterisk from public orders, right? Public orders. Cool. And now insert into public orders values, and a value will be id is 7, let's say 8. It is not there, right? User id 1, product id 1, now and now, right? Okay, it's saying get the time zone 1, the column amount. Okay, I have left the amount, no issues. So let's add 100. Current transaction is about it, command it now until okay, my bad, I was inside the transaction. So I will insert this, right? So another transaction has already completed the update, right? And we are inside the read committed, right? So when I'll try to do this, I am inside the transaction, right? You can see it here. It's not a single asterisk. Equals to hash is not there, asterisk hash is there, right? That means it is inside the transaction. Or over here also you can see begin, right? So now if I try to execute it, it will provide me it, right? Completely correct, right? Because I am inside the read committed, because I have another transaction has already committed or inserted a new rule. So this thing is bad, right? So let's commit it, right? Nothing will happen if I commit, because I have only read buttons, right? So let's begin now, and let's run the same command again. Okay. Oh, my bad. Okay, commit first. Okay, so begin again. Cool. And then set isolation level repeatable with okay. Set, okay, transaction isolation level, my bad. Roll back. Okay, so again begin and set transaction transaction isolation level read reminder repeat table read set. Now select count asterisk from public orders, right? I mean rows we get 8, right?
Okay.
And over here let's try to see 8 rows are there, right? Delete from public orders where id equals to 8, right? Deleted.
Okay.
Now select 7 rows there, right?
Yeah.
Now if I select again count asterisk 8 rows is there, right?
Yeah.
It is not reading from the committed data right now, it is reading from the
Snapshot.
great. Now if
Yeah.
I do commit negative, forget it will be ready. Cool. So alright, let's start the